Hello. Welcome to the History of Creativity. This is the second semester, beginning in about 1500 and proceeding to the present. It's a series of about 25 or 26 lectures, and I hope you enjoy them. The history of creativity is really a very interesting subject because it's kind of a new approach on history. First, a little bit about myself. If you want to find backup information on this course, you can go to my website. And here on the screen, we show you what the website is, but you can just Google on Brent Strong and go to website, and you'll pick it up. I've been married for 46 years. My wife is named Margaret, and we have 8 children. I received a PhD in chemistry, and I've been at BYU since 1986. Before coming to BYU, I spent about 15 years in industry. I teach plastics and composites, entrepreneurship mostly for engineers, and of course this course, which is called The History of Creativity. It's a civilization course that satisfies the general education civilization requirement. You're probably wondering why this course is called Manufacturing 202, which is not a bad question. And the reason is simply that I, many years ago, was asked a question by BYU in a self-study. And the question was, what does manufacturing do to enhance the overall BYU experience? And I was a little bit embarrassed because for me, it seemed like manufacturing was isolated. Engineering in general was isolated. The only people who took any of our courses were people who were in our major. And I thought that that was sad because, especially in the days that we are living of technology, we need to have a better interaction between engineering and the rest of campus. And therefore I thought, well, let's teach a civilization course, and the common thread between engineering and other majors is creativity. Not the only common thread, but certainly one of those common threads. And so this class was developed to integrate creativity in manufacturing with all of the other kinds of creativity and link them to the history of creativity through the process of civilization. Another reason we did that is because we want students to come to manufacturing. We enjoy having students here and would like more students to take a look at manufacturing as a major. Now let's talk about creativity. If this is a course on creativity, let's spend some time and talk about what creativity is. Here's a definition for you. Creativity is a way of thinking and doing. And doing, by the way, is sometimes called innovation, whereas the thinking part is sometimes called just the creativity. So creativity, together with innovation, is a way of thinking and doing that brings unexpected, original, and valuable ideas to fruition. And notice that it's unexpected, so it's something that is unusual, original, and remember that it's also valuable. We can start by understanding how we think. People have noted that our brains are actually divided into 2 different parts. The left side is a very well-organized side. It's where we think in patterns that have already been established. The right side is a free-form side. It's the side where we get information from the senses, and we just simply move them from the right side over to the left where they're organized for our use. But these 2 sides have very valuable components in understanding how we think about creativity. The left side, that is the organized side, is called linear thinking or linear creativity. It's the part that talks about maybe how you do a problem, how you do math, or how you do reading, or how you do experience and all of the details that you've worked out in the past, the patterns that you already have in your brain. So that linear side is linked to logic and past knowledge. The other side, the lateral side, is all about thinking new thoughts and getting new information and processing them in new ways. So it's innovation or out-of-the-box thinking. That people think is creativity, but what I'd like to suggest to you is that creativity requires both sides. And we'll see in a minute how the two sides link together to give us full creativity and innovation. Now I'd like you to practice a little bit of lateral thinking. That's not taught very often in school, and so let's practice just a little bit right now. Here's an exercise for you. By adding only a single line, turn the Roman numeral 7 into an 8. So that's pretty easy. All you have to do, of course, is just one more line. So a 7 becomes an 8. Well, let's make it a little more harder. By adding only a single line, turn the Roman numeral 9 into a 6. Well, how would you do that? Well, one possible answer is, of course, the single line is an S, and that becomes 6. Now, what we've done, obviously, is move from the first problem, which was just simple Roman numerals, to the second problem, which involved Roman numerals and the English language. Two very different fields, and linking between those two different fields is the lateral part of creativity. Now let's give you another challenge. Make IX, that is 9, into a 6 by a different method, but still only use a single line. Now, let's just let you think about that for a moment. How do you make an IX into a 6 with a single line? Well, here's one method. You could just simply go IX, and then you write a 6 equals 6, and certainly it does. 1 times 6 is a 6. All right, now let's talk about how our memory works and how that influences creativity. Remember that information is gathered on the right side, and then the information is moved to the left side where it is organized, like putting things in a filing cabinet. Right now, for instance, you would have a drawer open, and in that drawer you would have a bunch of folders, and one of the folders would say, perhaps, History of Creativity, and we're putting information in there. But that information is gathered in the ears and in the eyes and the other senses, and then it is passed to the left side of the brain for storage. Then the left side of the brain sets up an index system where it relates all of that information so that it can be retrieved at a later time. Then, when you want to retrieve it, perhaps in a creative way, the right side will make a leap. That is, it will go into the logical part of the index system that your left side has created and then think a new thought. For instance, Roman numerals, English language. That's a leap, and that's a structure that we haven't had heretofore. One of the purposes of this class, in addition to learning about civilization, is to improve your personal creativity. I hope you are anxious to do that because it's one of the funnest parts of the class. Now let me organize for you or outline for you how this class is supposed to help you improve personal creativity. We have in the course lectures and, of course, reading of the textbook. We have exams, and you'll be asked to have a creative project or paper that you will turn in at the end of the semester. These projects should be a leap from one filing cabinet to another. They should be creative. Perhaps something you've always wanted to do, never had an occasion to do it, some creative act that you will try and do by yourself. Should be creative. It must also relate to the course, that is, relate to the period of time from 1500 to the present. And it should do that in a meaningful way. Now, I've put restrictions on you, therefore. You can't just do anything. But what you need to do is do something that fits into the subject matter of this course, especially over the time frame 1500 to present. Accompanying your project should be an explanatory paper. This paper should be creative and insightful in its own, but it must explain how your project is creative and explain how your project fits in well with the 1500 to present time frame. And it should explain why you're passionate about it and why I should think that it does big C creativity, which we'll talk about in just a moment. Let me show you an example of a project from a previous course. This was called Fallen Angel in a Contemporary World. It is obviously a painting. As I remember, the painting was about 2 feet by 2 feet. If you look at it, the technique is good. The feathers are well painted. The person is well painted, but you notice this young woman who has been painted here is bruised and broken. And the story talked about this young woman's experience in leaving high school and coming to Provo and finding herself in a very strange environment for her and finding friends who were not always kind. And she experienced some very difficult situations, and it was pent up, causing her tremendous distress. Therefore, as her creative project, she painted this painting and told the story of the difficulties that had come into her life as she had moved to Provo. I remember very well reading this paper, and I was touched by what she said, and even more touched by the very graphic painting that you see before you. That's the kind of thing that needs to be done. By the way, the painting of the painting for her was not only a creative effort, but it was cathartic. That is, it helped her overcome the difficulties that she had been facing, and it helped her heal. So I encourage you to pick something in your life that you are passionate about, either good or bad, and create that in a way that is meaningful for others. So creativity is something that is meaningful, but you have to think about it. You have to do some brain thinking on both the left and the right side. Let me show you why. Take out a piece of paper and a pencil or a pen, and let's do a little exercise right now in creativity. All right, in 30 seconds, let's see you give as many ways as you can to use a brick, and here's an example. All right, go ahead, take 30 seconds and just write down as many ways as you can to use a brick. All right, now let's talk about the two types of ideas. Some of the ideas are associated with a concept that we call fluency. Other ideas are associated with a concept that we call flexibility. Let's distinguish between the two of them. Fluency is ideas based on the original concept or application. So, in the case of a brick, fluency would be things that we would build, a wall. Perhaps we would build some other enclosure. So things that have to do with the original intent. On the other side, flexibility is ideas that are not based on the original concept. So a brick could be a paperweight, or a brick could be a projectile that you throw through a window. Those are not associated with the original intent for which the brick was created. Fluency then are ideas that you get by logic. Well, a brick is for building, and therefore I'm going to build a wall, I'm going to build a dam, I'm going to build a house, I'm going to build whatever it is, many, many things that you can think of that you're going to build with that brick. On the other side, you think of things by analogy. A brick is as heavy as a stone, therefore I can throw it through a window. A brick is as heavy as a piece of metal, therefore I can use it for a door stopper, or many, many other things. A brick is rectangular, therefore I can use it as an outline for drawing a rectangle on a piece of paper. All kinds of ideas that are generated by analogy. Now, with fluency, the number of responses within a category can be very, very large. On the other side, flexibility, you get lots of different categories, and that can also be very large. Fluency, as you might imagine, is left brain thinking, the organized side. Flexibility is right brain thinking, that's the intuitive, disorganized side. Now, another aspect of creativity that we need to be aware of is what we have called VINE, V-I-N-E. That's an acronym, and it stands for these 4 elements. To be creative, it must be valuable. If it's not valuable to other people, then it has no value as a creative thing. Now, it might be valuable to you, then it's creative for you. But if it's creative for people other than you, then it has to be valuable for them as well. The next is intentional. Luck doesn't count. Things that are just lucky are not creative. They're lucky. But if you do something intentionally, then we have one of the key elements of creativity. Next, it must be novel or unique. It must be different. If it's the same old thing, then that would not be creative. And finally, it must be excellent. Things that are done poorly are rarely creative, and sometimes the excellence can be so well done that we say, oh, that was creative, even in its excellence. For instance, someone who played a beautiful piano sonata, better than you had ever heard it before, you might say that person played creatively because of the excellence that they carried it off. Another way to think about creativity is to think about the 4 P's, and let's review these quickly. The first P is creativity depends upon the person. That's what we want you to do, and therefore you should be courageous and observant and passionate. Those 3 things will help you be creative. The second is the process of being creative. And here the process is simply you prepare yourself so that you're ready to get a new idea. When you get that idea, you let it incubate, and then at a certain point, the light comes on and you realize what you can do with that new idea. So you've prepared your mind, then you let it incubate, and then you get the illumination, and finally you go out and you check it to make sure that it has value and that you can move it into an innovative stage, and that's what we call verification. Those 4 steps are valuable. Another P, the third P, is the product. The thing itself must be unique and valued, and here we see a picture of a chair that is certainly unique, and I like it, and I think it's valued for me. Finally, pressure, the 4th P. Pressure means the push of the environment. Sometimes there is an environmental reason to be creative. Frankly, this course is an environmental reason for you to be creative, because what we're doing is making the creative project worth 1/3 of your total grade. Hence, there is a tremendous environmental pressure for you to be creative. There have been times in history, like ancient Greece or the Renaissance in Florence, where there was pressure for creativity, and there was also some condition within the society that gave creativity. Maybe it was money, maybe it was the praise of the people in the community. Whatever it was, those things added to creativity. So what kinds of creativity are we talking about? Well, there's all kinds. It could be technical, like an invention. It could be economic, like an entrepreneur. It could be artistic, with a painting or sculpture, literature, music, dance. It could be cultural. We see leadership that is creative, or religious creativity. All of those things are different types of creativity. And you're not limited to any one of them in this course. You can do any of those or others that you might invent or think about, and that would be okay, provided it meets the requirement of big C creativity. To understand big C, let's talk about small c creativity first. Small c creativity is something that everybody does it. For instance, let's say that you go to New York for the very first time. Well, it's something that you did on purpose, that you might even do it excellently. That is, you fly out there in a nice airplane, maybe even first class. You do it for the very first time in your life, but it is small c creativity. I'm not interested. Most other people are not interested in the fact that you went to New York for the very first time. That's small c creativity. You and perhaps your spouse or your mother might be interested in it. The rest of us are not really very impressed with your creativity. Another aspect of small c creativity is to write about a creative person. For instance, Einstein was clearly creative, but your writing about Einstein is small c creativity, not big C. Now, there could be some way that you could structure writing about Einstein so that the unique way you do it is big C creativity, but then that could be done about other people as well, whether they're creative or not. But don't think that just because the subject of your project is creative, that you have become creative yourself. It's not the same. Usually, a single creative thought is rarely big C. What you must do is give elaboration and fluency. Remember, fluency is the thinking on the left side. It's adding more and more things to your project. Elaboration is expanding it and making it bigger. Let me give you an example. One of the students came with an idea. They came to me and they said, I would like to make a spa, a relaxation resort, a spa where a person could be creative. And they were able to come up with a video that shows a creative spa, or a spa where you could be creative. But I want you to notice now, as we look at this movie, how this person has elaborated on creativity. The video itself is very creative. The repetition is creative in the way that it's done. The sales job, if you like, is creative. And the concept is creative. And the visual effects are all creative. So here we go, the creative spa. Look at the layering and the elaboration.
Hello, my name is Creaticus Maximus. Have you ever wanted to be creative? Do you want to create stuff? Do you want to be so creative that you can create a creation and people look at your creating skills and say, wow. You can be creative and I can help. Studies show that creativity takes time, leisure time. Why aren't people creative in their leisure time? Because they'd rather watch TV, the tube, YouTube, TV commercials, eat out, eat outside, sleep, nap, fold paper, watch movies, lay down, blog, read a book, Facebook, sew, listen to music, go to concerts, make these things, do this. Biking, and stuff. I can show you how to do all this and more and still be creative. It all starts with thinking, thoughts, and I'll teach you to think creatively. Words, I'll teach you to speak creatively. Action, I'll teach you to do creative things. Come to my creative spa where many of the world's greats got their start. Da Vinci, Aristotle, and more. Come and learn how to use your leisure time creatively. There are activities, games, advice givers, puzzles, thought provokers, and other people ready to show you how to see, hear, touch, smell, taste things differently. People will see something and say, huh? But you'll see it and say, something creative. People will say, wow. So if you've always wanted to be that guy, come and see me and I'll show you the ropes and teach you the secrets to being creative. And your leisure time will be creative time and you'll create things. Music, paintings, books, movies, phones, cars, history of creativity projects, cakes, furniture, cards, games, building, spaceships, clothes. Kids that will be creative kids that wow people because they have creative creations. So send your kids to me and I'll make them prodigies. Creative prodigies. So if you feel like puzzling, relaxing creatively, relaxing in a pool of creative H2O, or want a facial using creative green stuff, or need a massage soaked in creativity oils, or desire a wax using creativity wax to remove those non-creative hairs, or are anxious to look at people, good-looking creative people everywhere, or want an all-creative tan, or just ready for a creative nap, or you're hungry for creative food, I guarantee that you will leave my creative spa full of the will and means to change the world with your creations. And people will say, wow. Come down and see the creative side at 700 BC Creative Road, Procreative, Utah.
All right, so now that we've seen that video, we can see that there is a sequence or a layering of effects. A unique idea, probably determined by flexibility, that is, right brain thinking, and then you add through fluency other ideas so that you keep building until you get to big C creativity. That's the secret. That's what you need to have done. So what do? Get a creative idea and then add to it for fluency. The first idea, an example for instance. A student came and said, I want to use the golden mean to measure the faces of people who are listed in the world's most beautiful. Do their faces have the proportions of the golden mean? That was the question. It's a neat idea. Then there was an added concept. Rank these famous people and many others on how closely their average measurements approach the golden mean to see if the beautiful people really are the ones that have the golden mean. And then there's another added feature. This student digitally constructed faces that are perfect and compared them with natural faces in a survey to find out what faces other people really liked. And finally, they gave a presentation that was just hilarious. So the class was not only intrigued with the idea, but they were laughing themselves in stitches because of the way it was all presented. You can do big C creativity. Begin now. Try and think through some kind of inspiration. Thumb through the book. Talk to other people. Do whatever you can to try and get an inspiring idea. Then begin very early. Put in hard work. Get the thing going. Those who procrastinate rarely succeed. Be courageous. Get out there and do some things that you have never thought that you could do before. And then put your heart into it. Remember that when your heart goes into it, it changes your mental attitude from, I'm just going to comply with what the course requires, to something that is fulfilling for you. A suggestion that I might give is create something that you would be happy to display in your home for the rest of your life. That is a good idea. Now let's finish up this lecture with a brief discussion of civilization and creativity. A modern thinker, Fritjof Capra, has said, after civilizations have reached a peak of vitality, they tend to lose their cultural steam and decline. An essential element in this cultural breakdown is the loss of flexibility, that is, the loss of creative thinking. Whereas growing civilizations display endless variety and versatility, those in the process of disintegration show uniformity and lack of inventiveness. The loss of flexibility in its disintegrating society is accompanied by a general loss of harmony among its elements, which inevitably leads to the outbreak of social discord and disruption. In other words, you lose creativity and the society goes down. This course will examine several different creative periods, and they are the Renaissance, the Reformation, the Scientific Awakening, and the Baroque. The Enlightenment, the Classical period, the Romantic period, the period in which Impressionism dominates, and the modern and postmodern periods. That's one way of looking at this course. Let me give you another way. Perhaps in your reading or in an earlier course you have become familiar with the three, what we call the three estates of civilization. The first estate is the church. The second estate is the nobility. And the third estate are the common people. These three estates dominated the Middle Ages. Now, what we're going to see from 1500 on is a modification of those three estates. First, the first estate is modified, and that takes from about 1500 to 1648. That's when the church is redefined. Secondly, from 1649 to 1789, we see that the second estate, that is nobility, is redefined. And then finally, 1790 to the present, we see how the common people and their power is redefined. There's yet a third way to look at this course, and that is to look at a very broad brush approximation of the dominant country in each century. In the 15th century, Italy was dominant. For instance, the Renaissance. In the 16th century, Spain was dominant. They had discovered the New World and they were taking the riches from the New World back to Spain. In the 17th century, France was dominant. This is the age of Louis XIV and the building of Versailles and other great palaces in France. In the 18th century, England was dominant. They had developed a widespread power on the seas and were dominating throughout the world. In the 19th century, Germany was especially cultural in its domination. This is the period when great music and philosophy was coming from Germany. And in the 20th century, America has been dominant. Who do you think is going to be dominant in the 21st century? Some may say China. Others will cite the fact that in the 2020s, India will have the largest population and maybe they will be dominant. Others have said, no, Europe is finally getting their act together and as a group, the European Union will be dominant. And others say, no, America will be able to dominate beyond its 100-year allocation and go on. Maybe South America will become a newly emerging dominant entity. Who knows? But this is an interesting concept about this 21st century. A futurist, Alvin Toffler, has said this: the illiterate of the 21st century will not be those who cannot read and write, but those who cannot learn, unlearn, and relearn. One of the good ways to do that is to enhance your personal creativity. Elder Uchtdorf gave a discussion of creativity in the Young Women's Conference. Here's a video of that talk. I think you'll enjoy it.
The desire to create is one of the deepest yearnings of the human soul. No matter our talents, education, backgrounds, or abilities, we each have an inherent wish to create something that did not exist before. Everyone can create. You don't need money, position, or influence in order to create something of substance or beauty. You might say, I'm not the creative type. If that is how you feel, think again. And remember that you are spirit daughters of the most creative being in the universe. Isn't it remarkable to think that your very spirits are fashioned by an endlessly creative and eternally compassionate God? Think about it. Your spirit body is a masterpiece, created with a beauty, function, and capacity beyond imagination. The more you trust and rely upon the Spirit, the greater your capacity to create.
Thank you for listening. I hope you'll be more creative. Appreciate it.